Welcome back to another episode of Plant-Based Dads. I'm Joey. We are a whole foods, vegan cooking channel. We do some product reviews. Sometimes there's some DIY because I'm cheap and I like to do things myself. Occasionally, there's some baking with Tim. If you like what you hear so far, please hit that like button. Show us some love. And think about subscribing and becoming part of the Plant-Based Dads family. We have a new 21-day challenge starting on the Facebook group and on Instagram. It's the January 21-day 50-50 plate challenge. It's a bunch of us eating the starch solution and incorporating the 50-50 plate into it. We're posting our photos of the food we're eating, give each other ideas, cheering each other on, meal prepping on the weekend. It's a lot of fun and it's a great way to interact with a bunch of people who are doing the same thing that you are. Check out the Facebook group for that, Plant-Based Dads, Starch Solution Enthusiasts. There's a picture of it right here. And you can be involved with all of us that are on this path and doing this challenge. And you can follow along on Instagram too. I'll be posting my photos of the food I'm eating and cheering you on there too. It's 2021. The new year is here, 2020 is behind us, and it's time for resolutions. And one of the biggest resolutions people make every year is to change their health. And that is the best resolution you can make. Making changes now to your health will ensure that you have a much longer life, hopefully without any type of chronic disease. Here's a staggering fact. Every 36 seconds in the United States, somebody dies of cardiovascular disease. It costs the USA $219 billion a year to deal with this. And considering we don't even have nationwide health coverage that covers every individual, that's a lot of money and it's scary. One of the biggest risk factors for cardiovascular disease is a diet high in saturated fat, trans fat, and cholesterol. So if you're making a resolution this year to transition to a plant-based diet, then I've got 10 tips for you to keep you on track this year. As an Italian, I personally come from a history of family with diabetes and heart disease. I, for one, am not going to come victim to that. I'm not going to be another number in the US's failed game of healthcare. 14 years ago, I changed my diet. I stopped eating meat, became a vegetarian, and then 2 years ago, I became a whole food plant-based vegan. And my health is amazing. I'm almost 60 years old, and everyone I know that's my age, around my little circle of sphere of influence, they're all on some type of medication for some type of chronic disease they have, and I'm the only one that isn't. And the only difference is I don't eat meat, and I almost never eat processed food. So here's my 10 tips on how to get started and transition to a healthier plant-based lifestyle. All right, tip number 1. Start making small changes. You don't have to jump into this today and decide, I'm vegan now, I'm whole food plant-based, I'm never eating meat again, I'm never eating processed food again. And then what? Then what do you do? Without a plan, it's not gonna work. So make a small change. Here's what I would do. I would start with breakfast. That's the quickest meal of the day, the simplest meal of the day to change over. And I would start with something like preparing 5 oatmeals on Sunday night. I would line up 5 mason jars on my counter. I would put a half a cup of rolled oats into each jar. I'd put some cinnamon in each jar, some chia seeds in each jar, some blueberries, some bananas, and then a half a cup of milk or a cup of milk, depending on how milky you like it. Shake them all up, throw them in the fridge, and I've got breakfast every day for the work week. I've just changed over my breakfast to plant-based without much of an effort at all, and it's all planned for me. So I would start with breakfast. Just making small changes to start with won't really affect you too much in your day-to-day life, and it's an easy way to get started. You can do that today. All right, tip number 2, eat a variety of plants, right? I just read this book, it's called Fiber Fuel by Dr. Will B, and he talks about how there are 400,000 different plants on the earth, and 300,000 of them are edible. So you want to eat as many of those different edible plants as you can. A lot of us like the same things over and over again. I'm definitely a potatoes and broccoli guy, but I have to get myself out of just having broccoli. One day I can have broccoli, another day I might want carrots, another day I want yellow squash. I want to have a variety of different plants, right? Just to make sure I'm getting the benefits from all the different ones, because they've all got wonderful benefits for us, but unless we eat from different ones, we're not going to reap all those benefits. We're just going to get the same benefits from the same plants. So I would eat a variety of plants. That's kind of my new thing this year, and I'm going to work hard to make sure that I'm doing that. You've heard people say, eat the rainbow. Vegan people say that all the time. That's what they're talking about. Eat from different plants. All right, tip number 3. Keep your meals simple. I know that when I have just potatoes and broccoli for dinner, if I plan that and I eat that, I'm good after a few bites of potatoes, after a little bit of broccoli. I'm full, I'm done. I'm not sitting there wolfing it all down. I mean, it's potatoes and broccoli. There's nothing exciting about it, right? But if I'm sitting there on Friday night and I'm making an Asian stir fry and I've got my pineapples in there and my ginger, my Szechuan sauce and all that stuff, right? And I make a whole pot of that and it's smelling good. I start eating that. I can't stop. I'll go through 2 plates of that. The idea that by keeping your meals simple, you not only can cook them a lot quicker, but you don't overeat. You don't stuff yourself. Whereas when you've made a decadent meal, you have more of a chance of, 1, you're stuffing yourself. 2, if it seems like that much work, you may just be like, I'm not going to do all that. Let's just order a pizza, right? Keep it simple for the win. Occasionally, I do like to indulge and make something fun and exciting, and that's fine too, but I just have to remember not to overeat. Tip number 4, set short, manageable goals for yourself. Don't wake up on the first Monday in January while you're watching this video and say, all right, I'm a vegan now, I'm whole food plant-based, I'm not eating anything else. That's not going to work, right? You're going to need to somehow get to that point. And I read a PETA pamphlet and never ate meat again, but that's a different story. I had different reasons for doing that. What you want to do is set a goal for January. Like for January, I'm going to eat only plant-based for breakfast. Okay, great. And then you go through January, you make your oatmeals or whatever you make, your granola, and then at the end of January, you're like, wow, I ate plant-based every breakfast for January. Starting February, I'm going to have breakfast and lunch plant-based. And then you start making chickpea salads for your lunch or, bean burritos or whatever. And, that goes well. And, in March, you're like, okay, I'm going to add my dinner or my snack on. And by the end of the year, you're completely plant-based, probably even sooner than that. Those are attainable goals, right? And they set you up to succeed. Whereas the other way, if you're like, I'm going to do this all in right now, then if you don't make it 3 days, you failed. Why bother, right? I'm not going to get anywhere with this. So short, manageable goals, that's the way to go. All right, tip number 5. Try and get out of the mindset of meat and 2 vegetables. I don't know where that came from, but I guess because of the USDA, the protein in the vegetables and the non-starchy vegetables and the fruit or whatever, but you don't need to eat that way. I don't eat a mock meat product and 2 vegetables. I don't have any mock meats in my house. When you're transitioning to a plant-based style, that's the time to use mock meats, right? If you're used to eating burgers and now you're eating the Impossible Burger or the Gardein Burger, and that helps you transition while you're having your vegetables, that's amazing. Go for it. I think that's the time and the place to eat those things. As you transition, you won't need those mock anything. You'll be able to make a whole meal with rice and beans on one side and then broccoli and then, some kale or whatever, or a salad. That'll be a whole meal. And then you'll get all the same nutrients, all the same protein, probably more, iron and on all that, calcium. You'll get all of that from that meal. So try and get out of the way we've been taught to think of a protein that takes up half the plate and then, 2 vegetables, right? The whole plate should be vegetable based. Tip number 6, eating healthy is not expensive. I know people look at it like, oh, you're a vegan? How do you even afford that, right? Do you have like some sugar daddy or something? Yeah, no. Okay, eating healthy is not expensive. Here's, one of the things I do is I say this all the time, don't judge. I love the 99-cent store here in Arizona. And when you walk in a 99-cent store, everything's 99 cents, right? So there's just aisles of rice and lentils and other beans and cans of peas, and there's so much stuff. You can get a whole bag of rice for 99 cents. You can get a whole bag of lentils, they're dry, for 99 cents, right? You can go into the produce section. The ones here are produce. They've got heads of lettuce, frozen broccoli, all sorts of frozen sorted vegetables. The avocados, Brussels sprouts, they've got all that for 99 cents in the bags. So I could walk out of there with $10 and get a month's worth of dry food and probably a week's worth of produce. It does not have to be expensive. If it was, I wouldn't be doing it. Also, Costco, Sam's Club, they have great deals. I can buy a 25-pound bag of chickpeas dry at Costco for $14. And when 25 pounds of chickpeas is cooked, they go to almost 3 times their size. I wind up with 75 pounds of cooked chickpeas for $14. I mean, that is pennies on the pound. Like, it just doesn't get any more affordable. So eating plant-based doesn't have to be expensive. Now, if you're going to be like, I'm going to buy that vegan cheese for $10 an ounce and all that. Yeah, that's going to get expensive. But that's not the stuff you should be eating anyway. That's all processed. Processed foods can be very expensive when you're a plant-based eater. Stay away from that stuff. Stay with whole food, plant-based items, and you will save money. All right, tip number 7, you're going to have to start learning to cook for yourself. I'm sorry, that's just what's going to happen. One of the ways to make sure that you're eating whole food, plant-based, or if you transition into a plant-based diet, you have to control what's in your food, and you can't always do that if you go to a restaurant. Even if you go to like Chipotle or whatever, they're going to have oil in the beans and the rice, even though they're vegan, the sofritas. If you look at sofritas, that's their vegan protein. If you look online, it's full of fat. Where does the fat come from? It's in oil. That's where it comes from. So you want to stay away from saturated fats and trans fats and cholesterol and all that. You need to avoid those foods with oil. Now, when you're cooking for yourself, you ain't got to be a gourmet chef, right? You can open a can of beans. You can open a frozen bag of broccoli from Costco like I do, throw it in the microwave, heat it up for 2.5 minutes, and, spread some sriracha over it. You're done. There's dinner. And that happens to me like quite a few times. That's what I do. It doesn't have to be complicated, but you personally are going to need to control what goes in your body and what's in your food. Now, it could be tough for some people. One, you might be by yourself. Is it really worth cooking for one? Yeah, it is. Make enough and then have it all week. 2, you may be living with people who aren't in your situation. I don't live with vegans. I'm the only vegan in my house, right? I'm the cook, so they're eating vegan here. When they're outside of the house, they can eat whatever they want. But, I'm not going to make a special meal for them. But, I'm dealing with that all the time. So I may hear moaning and groaning or whatever, or they may decide they want pizza or something like that. And that's fine. But I have to know that, that's for them. I'm not interested in that. I can't let their bad decisions become my bad decisions. When that happens, then I have failed. And I just refuse to fail. Tip number 8. This is really good for those of you transitioning and wanting to know where to start. What do I do? How do I get started? Here's what you can do. For dinners, I would take 5 of your favorite meals, right? Write them down. Oh, I love Asian stir fry. Oh, I love to go to Chipotle, right? Oh, and whatever it is. I love to go to the Olive Garden. Write that down and then start making meals at home that mimic those. Whatever Chipotle serves, you can make at home and make it oil-free. Wrap it up in one of those big burritos and you're ready to go. If you're a fan of the Olive Garden, you can make pasta at home, make your own marinara that's oil-free. There's a video here on the channel that talks about how to make your own oil-free marinara. Throw some broccoli and vegetables on that, and you've got a beautiful carbonara marinara, right? Just come up with 5 meals that you like to eat at restaurants or 5 places you like to go, and start there. Veganize those meals. Once you've started that, now you're on your way to making other foods that you like. But it doesn't have to be complicated. I would start with redoing familiar meals I already enjoy. I don't need to start from scratch. Remember, you're transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle. You want to make it as easy as possible, but at the same time, you want to start reaping the benefits as soon as possible. Tip number 9. Occasionally, you're going to have to go out to restaurants. I mean, there's no way around it. Your family is meeting you out there. You've got a client meeting you. You just don't have time to cook. You're celebrating something. That's okay. When you go to a restaurant, keep some things in mind. First of all, you can eat a vegan meal at any restaurant. I have Olive Garden here, Chili's. I've got all these different restaurants in my corner over here. I can absolutely eat vegan at one of them. At Chili's, you can get the vegetable fajitas. You can work that so it's vegan. At Olive Garden, you get the pasta with the vegetables on top. Even the breadsticks are vegan at Olive Garden. I know, bad news, right? So you can definitely eat vegan at just about any restaurant. Is that food healthy? Probably not. It's probably cooked with oil, and that's just the way it is. So, you kind of have to pick your battles with this. At the very least, just eat vegan at a restaurant and don't worry so much about it being whole food plant-based. Now, if you're eating at a smaller restaurant or something mom and pop or neighborhood, that's a good opportunity to even say to this, and I do this all the time, say to the server, hey, look, I'm a vegan. I'm going to sit here and pull things out of your menu and go, hey, I want this, but leave this out. Or maybe you could see if the chef is up for this. Can he just throw something vegan and whole food plant-based together for me? And I won't question it, and I'll be happy to eat it. Whatever it is, let him be creative, right? And I've done that many times. And I mean, never have I had a server come back and go, yeah, he's not doing that. That never happens. They're almost always happy to just make something for you. So try that. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. How else are you going to know if you're going to get it? And my 10th tip on how to transition to plant-based is surround yourself with people who are like-minded. The best way to do that is social media. We have the Facebook group, we mentioned it earlier, Plant-Based Dads, Starch Solution Enthusiasts, a picture of it right here. You can join that. That's a whole food plant-based group. It is geared around the starch solution, so very little fats, no oils, that sort of thing. If that's too much for you, then there are many other whole food plant-based groups out there. Any of them would be fine. Definitely join at least one of them so you're surrounded with other people who are doing the same thing. It's a big help because especially if you're at home by yourself, or if you're at home with a family doing this by yourself and they're still eating the traditional American diet, or Western diet I should call it, then you're not going to get any support from people at home. So it's important that you have a place to air out some of the issues you're dealing with, or these people will post recipes and photos, and it's a good place to get some inspiration on some other things you could throw together that might be simple that you might not have thought of. So the photos alone, the recipes alone, are worth joining these groups for. I get a lot of inspiration from the members there, and we all share all the things that we're going through, whether it's about food or bowel movements or whatever. Like this, there's no subject that you can't talk about. So I love it, and I love interacting with everyone. Definitely surround yourself with like-minded people. Social media is a good place for that. All right, so one last thing I want to talk about, because that's our 10 tips right there. If you are doing this transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle, or whatever you're doing in life, really, this could apply. If you fall while you're doing this, get back up and keep on going. You haven't lost everything. There's no reason to give up. The only time you truly lose is when you give up. If you've been doing this for a few weeks and then suddenly friends are visiting for the weekend, and the next thing you know, you've eaten stuff you should not be eating all weekend long, and now it's Monday and you feel like crap, well, that's going to happen because you ate garbage and your body wasn't used to it. But here's what you can do. You can just dust yourself off, stand up, and just keep on moving where you were before that happened, right? I don't want to say you can start over, because you're not starting over. Starting over would mean like you've given up and now you have to go back to square one. You're not doing that. You're just going to pick up where you left off and move forward. So try and think of it that way. One of the things I often say in the group is, when a football team wins 16 games in a year and loses 4, you know what they call that? A winning year, right? 4 games does not make the whole season, just like a weekend does not make your whole month of eating or your whole year of eating or whatever it is. So you got to learn to just pick yourself up, move yourself on, and don't get hung up on that stuff. You can do this. It's not all or nothing. That mindset will do you in. So try and get out of it. All right, friends, that's our video for today. Please hit that like button. Show us some love. What's not to like? If you haven't subscribed yet, please think about subscribing and becoming part of the Plant-Based Dads family. You'll get notified every time we have a new video, usually on Mondays. If it's a DIY or something like that, that's on Wednesdays. If there's baking with Tim or anything else, that's on Saturdays. And please leave a comment below. What are your New Year's resolutions? I want you to tell me what they are in the comments below, because if I recognize your name from the group, I'm going to be all over like, hey, it's February, Patty. Are you still on that thing? How's it going, right? I'm going to hold you accountable, and I'll put mine in the comments below too, and you can check up on me and see if I'm doing it. It's so much easier if we do this together. If I help you, you help me, then we can't fail, right? There's totally more power in numbers. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.